Hello, hello, School of Healing Arts family. How are you? Laura Plahuti here, and I'm very excited for this week's live training. So if you're here with us, say hello in the comments. If you are catching the replay, whether it's here in our beautiful Facebook community, whether it's on the podcast, on the YouTube channel, let us know that you're here and say hello. And we are going to jump right into today's topic, which is slowing down to speed up, which is really, like, when you think about it, to me anyway, it sounds very counterintuitive, but it's been very life changing in my life since being able to implement this into my life. And if you had the chance to take a peek at the post that we have in the community here from yesterday and read through that, we already shared a few reasons why it has been so absolutely life changing. But let me see if I can get in the comments here so that I can see that this is going to be very interactive today. So feel free to say hello and be very, very active in the chat. And at the very end, if you want to stick around, I'm going to guide you through an exercise that's called the 5 Steps of Creation, where I'm going to guide you through a process where you will actually be able to gain greater self-awareness around maybe some of the stories, the limiting beliefs, or the emotions that may potentially be holding you back from really creating that authentic life that you are wanting to live right now. So I'm very, very excited. It was very transformational when I initially went through this many, many years ago. So I wanted to bring it back to all of you. So obviously in today's world, I'm here in Canada, Northern America, many parts of the world, it's very, very fast paced, right? And that's kind of, we can get it easily caught up in this like busyness, this frenzy where we feel like we have to keep up with other people and their lifestyles in order to do it, which really pulls us off our center of what we authentically like. And I feel personally that this is a lot of like the people pleasing that comes in, and that's a lot of the reason why society, when we really look at a lot of humanity, they aren't really very fulfilled in what they're doing in their life. And I know that was me about 5-6 years ago in my life when I kind of started going down this personal development journey, this healing journey. Hi, Star. So happy you're in here. When I started going down this personal growth journey and this healing journey, and it was all of these tiny little tools and these little nuggets that I picked up over the years that really helped me to expand my awareness of both who I was, the way that I saw the world, gain a greater understanding of my thoughts, of my emotions, of my behaviors, so that I could shift them in a way that actually felt good to me and start creating my life in a way that authentically felt good to me, right? And if you've been following my journey for a while, you know I've shifted my life quite a bit, kind of from more the traditional way of working, and now working online and being able to travel and having a lot more freedom in my life. And I know there's a lot of you in this group that are wanting to bring in a lot more freedom into your life, whether that looks like something similar to mine or something completely different. It's unique and authentic to each and every single one of us, which is super cool. So when it comes down to slowing down, right, when we get caught up in that kind of hustle and bustle of everyday life, and we're just going through the motions, right? We wake up, we do the exact same thing every single day, we go to bed, we kind of stay in this loop and this cycle, right? And in order to start creating a new reality, if we think about that as like a little cycle here, and we want to create a new reality, we at some point we have to start chipping away at what is happening here so that we can start jumping into new realities or jump into new timelines. And so that is a lot of the work that I do with my clients, that we do at the School of Healing Arts here, is we help you to really start chipping away at those patterns that are keeping you where you maybe don't feel very fulfilled and helping you to get where you're really wanting to go. And so with that, when we start slowing down, what happens is 3 things. Our nervous system starts being able to start regulating again, right? When we are in this constant doing mode, right? We're called human beings, not human doings. So when we're in this constant doing mode and we're go, go, go all the time, our nervous system is actually like firing off stress hormones called cortisol and epinephrine and things to keep us going, right? And the whole purpose of our nervous system and that part of it isn't for us to be doing our everyday things, right? That's for like in emergencies. Hi, Kenneth. It's for like emergencies, right? When We really need to kick into high gear. We need the energy so that we can actually do something, right? But our lifestyles that we lead a lot of the time today, it has our nervous systems kind of on overdrive. And so when we can actually start consciously slowing down, which it will have to be a conscious process of slowing down, right? Because I remember when I first started meditating and trying to consciously slow down, my mind would just kind of want to keep doing things. And it was weird. It was like I didn't know how to just like sit and be. Does anybody else feel that when you're not really able to sit still? Or maybe you have in the past. Let me know in the comments. So it helps with better nervous system regulation. When we can start really shifting that nervous system back into the rest and digest, that's when our body actually gets to heal. And another thing with that is the second thing is more aligned decision making, right? When our nervous system actually pivots and shifts into this rest and digest piece, we actually have greater self-awareness of being able to look at our life, and we can kind of go from a slower, more still lens to be able to make decisions. And it provides us that time to actually tune in. And this is where the introspection or the self-reflection comes in, where we can actually have the ability to be able to tune in to ourselves and ask us what we actually want. Because who here can get caught up in people pleasing, where somebody invites you to something, or you get an offer for something and you're just automatically like a yes, right? Or maybe you have so many ideas of all the things you want to do and you're just constantly wanting to do all of them, but it doesn't really leave you that space to tune in and really hone in on your energy, right? So you can actively channel that energy into a specific thing to create the manifestation that you're actually wanting to create. Yeah, June says it's a practice to get still within. I agree with that. It took me a really long time to be able to do that. And then, so number 3, so number 1 was that nervous system regulation. Number 2 was that aligned decision making. And then number 3 is feeling more grounded and trusting yourself. You know, I like to think of people pleasing kind of as like a floppy noodle. It's like you're being kind of like a floppy noodle where you're not really like tuned in to who you are and what you want, and you're just kind of floating around with life. And I've been there, and even sometimes I still am the floppy noodle, and I'm like, Laura, stop being the floppy noodle. Stop that, right? Like slow down and tune in and be like, what is it that you actually want? And ask your heart, ask your body, and then make decisions from that place. And obviously when we do that, then we can actually feel more grounded in who we are and more confident and more assertive, and be able to make decisions that we want and be able to create the life that we actually want. And I know all of you are in this group because you're wanting something more in your life, right? You're wanting to feel better. You're wanting to create something different in your life. So with that being said, let me know how this is all landing for you. Which one of those 3 resonates most with you? Or is there any that you're specifically working on? Or is there anything else that you can see? Is there any other value that you can see that slowing down really provides to you? I know those are just a few that I mentioned there, but there's so many more. Let's give you a second to put them in the comments as I take my tea bag out. We learn to trust our intuition more. Yes. Massive. Yeah, and I like to think of our intuition as like our soul's voice, our body's voice. It's like our true, authentic nature. Because as we kind of like pick up, when we're children, we can pick up a lot of like other people's beliefs, and it's a filtering back through, or a remembrance of what your soul actually wants and what you came here and you want to actually create, right? I gain more energy when I drop back. Yeah, massive. Yeah. And I like to think of our energy as like a gauge of like how tuned in we are, right? If we are fully connected to our soul, our energy is like lit, right? Because we are so like in our passion, we're in our zone of genius, we're exactly where we're meant to be in that moment. And the more I come on here and start doing these lives again with you, I'll start talking more about like the emotional guidance system and how it really is this fine-tuned system that we have within us that really helps us to like weave our way through life and start filtering out the things that maybe we picked up because of people pleasing, or we thought that we should be doing certain things in order to please other people, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we can really start filtering those things out and really start getting more aligned with what it is that we authentically want, so we can take action on it and create that life that we actually want. So that's awesome. So if you have a pen and paper with you, that's awesome. If not, go pop out and grab one, because you'll need it for this exercise. And before I go into this little exercise, I want to kind of share an analogy with you to really share a little bit more about what I talked about when it comes to the emotions. And when we think about kind of the lens that we see life through, and you'll see that through this exercise, I'm going to get you to really bring your conscious awareness to both the things you don't want in your life, the things you do want in your life, and then we're going to dive a little bit deeper into understanding the different stories that maybe you're telling yourself as to why you can't achieve the things that you're actually wanting to achieve in your life. Right? There's a quote by Henry Ford, and he said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Right? So if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And it is, it's totally true, right? Because our thoughts are manifesting our reality, because they're shifting our emotional states and our behaviors, right? And this is kind of where most people go wrong, is that they try to consciously change their thoughts. So even affirmations and stuff like that, where you're like saying consciously, like the new manifestation that you want to create, but it's not actually aligning with the emotions that you're feeling in order to be I like to think of the emotions as like the gas in the tank that's actually going to fuel you to get to that destination where you want to go, right? So if you have like boggy kind of fuel in there, you're going to be like very sluggish trying to go toward your goal. It's going to feel a lot heavier. You'll probably likely give up because it's so heavy and it's so hard, right? Whereas if you're friggin' zinging around on that supreme gas, you're like, woo! This is friggin' awesome. Life is great. We can do this. I got this. But it's not coming from like a mental place of like saying it. It's like you're feeling it, and that's the expression that's coming out, right? Do you guys understand the difference of that between like mentally saying things, when we just try to like say that things are okay, when really in our bodies we feel that they're not okay, and sometimes we can lie to ourselves that things are okay when really they're not. And then also when we're legit feeling the feels, then we don't have to think about what comes through as an expression. It's just an expression of that embodiment of the way that we're feeling. So that's what I'm going to be sharing a little bit more about now, and then guiding you through an exercise to gain more clarity and awareness around kind of where you may be in that bogginess. So if we imagine a building, an apartment building, okay? Imagine an apartment building. Obviously there's an elevator in there, and it's going up each and every single floor. So David Hawkins, incredible doctor, has a book called Power versus Force. Did lots of studies on this, and it shows that every single emotion holds a different vibration and a different frequency. Okay, and that's exactly like I said about the boggy fuel versus the like supreme gas that's just like going, right? And that's really the difference between those people that are really thriving in life, both with the success they want financially and physically, and also feeling their best, right? Because we don't just want the external success without the feeling good. That's one thing that I'm very passionate about, is making sure that we feel aligned with what we're doing, so that we're not just receiving all this external success just because, right? It's about we feel it, and then we want the abundance to come through from that place, right? So what David Hawkins did is he categorized all of these emotions. And so imagine that that's this apartment building. And so when you go to that first floor, and that first floor is shame, right? So shame is a very heavy emotion. It's kind of like, I am unworthy. And you can imagine if you were going, like you're a real estate agent, you have your real estate agent there with you, you open up the door of this apartment, and you're going in there and you're feeling unworthy of this place, and it's the very bottom floor, and you're looking out the window, and there's like dumpster bins out there, and you're like, oh, this place doesn't feel very good, you know? And we can be kind of miserable when we're in that place of shame, right? And when we're living our life through that place of shame. And so we're like, okay, no, I don't want this apartment. Let's go up to the next floor. So we close that door off. We go up the elevator. We push the second button. And then we're like, okay, I'm going to go up, and I'm going to skip some of them. There's a lot more on this elevator ride. But for this example, we're going to skip them. So we're going to go up to floor number 4, where grief is. So we're going to be going into grief. So we open up the door of grief. And grief is really like, it's really hanging on to the past, right? It's not letting go of things in the past. And grief doesn't necessarily have to be the loss of a loved one. It can be a loss of a past version of ourselves. It could be where we're really not forgiving ourselves as much as we potentially could in order to clear away that grief that's laying under there, right? So grief, we can often have lots of regrets, and it can feel very tragic. So you walk into this apartment and you're like, oh my gosh, like I really regret, like you're not even present with what's here in the apartment. You're thinking about the boyfriend that broke up with you. You're thinking about the job opportunity that you didn't take. You're thinking about all of these things in the past that's not even having you present looking in this apartment. So you're just kind of disengaged and you're like, yeah, no, this isn't the apartment for me. I'm going to go out. So you go out and you're on to the next one. And then you're going up again. And you're like, okay, desire. Actually, let's skip up another one. We're going to go up to anger. We're going to go up to anger. So we go up to the next floor. Floor 7. Burp. I get off. It's like floor 7. Ding. We're up at floor 7. And this is anger. So imagine you go into this apartment and you're like, what the F? I didn't want that color. I didn't want that color. This just isn't what you want. You know, it's exactly not what you want. It's crossing all of your boundaries. It smells. It's just weird. And you go in there, you're just all angry, right? You're very antagonistic, kind of aggressive, hateful at this apartment. And this is the lens that you're looking out of at this apartment, okay? And so we're like, no, let's keep going. Let's try out another one. So we go back up again. Now we're going to go back up to, maybe we'll go to like neutral. So we're going to get off at the neutral floor, okay? And so you can see all of these kind of keep going up. And I can get more in depth about all of this and how it all works because it's very fascinating. I nerd out on this stuff like crazy. It just blows my mind with how cool humans are. But we'll move up to neutrality. So neutrality is really just like even keeled. You know, it's like there's trust. You're feeling trustful with what's happening. You can like be satisfied with what's actually there in front of you. So you go in there and you're like, wow, okay, this place is nice. Okay, you're like taking a look around. You're like, okay, cool. This is something that I can see myself living in. You know, I really like that it has a dishwasher. I love that it has these beautiful big windows and this plant. And you're like seeing through this new kind of lens, right? It's very different than the other floors, right? And so you're like, okay, this is cool. Let's keep going. Let's see all of our options, okay? And then you go back out and you're like gonna go up to, we'll say, we're gonna go up to love. Go up to the love floor. We get out on the love floor and we're just like, oh my gosh. Wow, I absolutely love this place. This place is so incredible. Like the couches are so nice and like this is so nice and look at the bedroom. Look at that walk-in closet. You're just like in love with this place. You're like, I can see myself and my family being in this space. This is just like so incredible, right? And you're like, okay, let's continue looking through our options. So you go back out to the elevator. The real estate agent's like, okay, we've got lots more. Let's go. And we go up to joy and we get out there and we're like, wow, this place is awesome. Look at this place. It has big windows. It has this. Oh my goodness. You know how much fun we could have in that living room? We can have the most epic dance parties ever in this place. Like, I am so excited about this place. Like, oh my gosh, like how can there be anything better than this? Right? And the real estate's like, no, but wait, we have one more. Actually, a few more. So you're like, okay, let's go check it out. And you go out and you back up. You're going to go up to the peace floor. Peace. And in that place, you're just like, and you're just kind of looking around. And you're like, wow. I feel so relaxed in here. I could probably just sit in here and meditate all day. You know, like you picture you like little Buddha sitting there in the corner. It's just so zen. There's crystals everywhere. It's just like this like oasis paradise. You're like, wow, okay, this is a new vibe. This is neat. Okay? So these are kind of like all of these different perspectives that we can see life through. And I'm sure, like, as humans, like, we roll through all emotions, right? There really is no good or bad emotions. There's just different flavors. And that's really what this is showing, is that there is different flavors. You know, we can often sometimes get trapped in those lower levels where we're in the shame or we're in the guilt based off of our past conditioning. And we're living in that. And we don't even know that those higher roots are possible, right? But that's a cool work about, the cool thing about the work that Julie and I do is that we have tools and exercises to help you to clear away and chip away at all of those things so you can start living your life more in those higher states of being. And that's really our goal for this, is really to help you to be able to live in those higher states so that you can have more fun and you can enjoy yourself and you can have the relationships you want to have and you can find acceptance in the things that maybe you don't really accept right now, and you can really start creating your life in an authentic way that feels good to you. So how is everything landing so far? Do you have any questions about kind of how emotions work? And this is kind of interesting because when we look at the different levels, right, and we have different emotions, those emotions actually create our thoughts, right? It's all energy. So we have different thoughts associated with different vibrations, right? So if I'm sitting in a place of shame, right, if I'm feeling very shameful, my thoughts may sound something like, oh, I can't do this, or that person doesn't like me, or I don't feel up to that. You know, like they're a lot lower vibrational thoughts, right? Whereas if I'm sitting up in a place of courage, you know, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I can do this. I got this. You know, I can do this. And this is how I said before, looping back to how I said about a lot of people try to change their conscious thoughts first instead of changing the emotional stuff underneath. And it's actually backwards, right? You want to shift the emotional patterning and then the thoughts will just naturally come through, right? Because when you're joyful, like think about it, when you are in a joyful mood, you're not thinking about what you can't do. You're thinking about how much fun you're having, right? So that's the key thing about this. So to get into this exercise, grab your pen and paper. And I'd love for you to, the very first thing, this is the 5 steps of creation. I learned this in a program that I took with GoPro Coaching Academy, a coaching program that I took with them. And 5 steps to creation. And so the very first one is knowing what you don't want. And you can do either 1 or 2. So it's either knowing what you don't want or knowing what you do want. Okay? And so sometimes if we're in the lower vibrational energies, it'll be very hard for us to even know what we want, right? So in that case, start with what you don't want, right? I don't want to be living paycheck to paycheck. I don't want to be feeling lonely. I don't want to be driving a beater car that breaks down. You know, like any of those things you don't want in life, and it can be anything. It can be materially, it can be physically. Maybe I don't want to have health issues anymore. It can be mentally, it can be spiritually, it can be anything in this list. And just taking the time to write down whatever comes to your mind first, either the things that you don't want or the things that you do want. And that is number 1. And feel free to put them in the comments as well. Or if you want to take time to write them down and then throw a couple of them in the comments. You'll probably notice that a lot of when we're in different things, it's like a lot of the lens of life is the same. And that's the thing, is that humans, we are this whole apartment building, right? Humans are not just joy, or we're not just one thing. Humans have the capacity to be the entire apartment building. We just have better relationships because we've spent more time with certain floors, right? And once we can open up and expand our mind to be like, oh no, I can hop to this floor and I can get to know that floor a little bit more and find acceptance in it, and I can go to this floor, then we start opening up our whole human consciousness. And that's when we really become master creators of our life. So either starting with what you don't want in life or what you do want in life. And then whenever you want, just throwing that in the comments there. For those of you guys that popped on and haven't said hello in the comments yet, hello! Feel free to say hi. If you want to stay silent too, that's okay too. You're more than welcome. I don't want to feel financial stress in my life ever. I agree. It's not a very good feeling. Thank you for sharing that. Hi, Nicole. So happy you're on here. Awesome. And so just for purpose of time, we're going to continue moving forward. And if you do want to come back to this live, you can. And you can take more time and you can pause it. And you can take as much time as you want with these exercises. I know the whole topic of this is slowing down to speed up. So really encouraging you to take all the time you want to wander on these 5 steps and just seeing what comes through, because it will be very, very radically life-changing. So if you started with what you don't want, flip it over to what you do want. It's going to be the opposite for the most part. And then there may be other things you want to do. And get very intentional with what you're putting on there. Like this is almost like a vision board or a dream board, if you've heard of that, where you're getting very detailed with what you're seeing, using all of your senses. What am I seeing? What am I hearing? How am I feeling? What am I tasting even? What am I smelling? Right? Getting very clear on what it is that you do want so that you have that vision of what it is that you want to create. Because the vision is very important, and this is all still kind of in the mental realm of what's in our conscious awareness, because obviously we have all of our unconscious stuff, which we can't see quite yet. So that's a lot of the work we do, as well as bringing from the unconscious to the conscious so we can actually shift these patterns. And once we go to the body, thank you so much, Star. Yes, there will be a recording. So I'll tag you in that, and enjoy your other session that you're hopping on. Thank you so much for being here. And so the stuff in your unconscious mind, as we kind of move down, we're going to start getting a little bit more into that. So if you were doing what you did want initially, then flip it over to sorry, I was just getting a phone call there. If you were doing what you did want first, then flip it over to what you don't want. And just take some time to be able to write those things down, and just rapid fire. Just whatever comes there out initially, just trust what's there. And if you want to put in some of those things you do want, throw them into the comments there. And allow your mind to wander. This is no limitations. There ain't no caps on this. This is you're a child, you're dreaming. There's no limitations. Nobody's told you you can't be, do, or have anything in this lifetime right now. So if that little voice comes in thinking it's too big of a dream, just shove it to the side for now. Acknowledge it. Thank you so much. But keep writing it down. Okay. So just wrapping that up, and you can always come back to this and expand on your list. Number 3, when you ask yourself, and this is where radical responsibility comes in and just being honest with yourself comes in, what is it that's holding you back? And this is where you might want to just close your eyes down and take some nice big deep breaths into your body. What this does is it just slows things down and allows you to come into your body and into your sensations and your feelings in your body. So what's holding you back? What are some of the stories that you're telling yourself? Is it that you're not good enough? That maybe you're not smart enough? What are the stories that are coming through that you're telling yourself? And just imagine that your page is just this like loving witness that's just witnessing everything flowing out. Maybe you're afraid of failure, or you're afraid of what people will think if you actually took action toward this. Maybe you're afraid of rejection. And all of these things are so normal. When we're honest with ourselves, all of us feel these things at certain degrees, depending on our past experiences. Good. And so just wrapping that up, writing your last few thoughts there. Afraid of success. Yes. Thank you for saying that, and thank you for sharing that. I resonate with that deeply myself as well. It's interesting, eh? How we can be afraid of both failure and we can be afraid of success. There's no right or wrong to any of this. And I find it very fascinating. Once you actually lean into understanding these things, you're like, wow, that makes so much sense. And once it clears, you just feel like a rock star. Massive. So step number 4. Step number 4 is creating a new relationship with this emotional response or this pattern. So once we kind of, like, this is like how I shared about like the apartment buildings. Each apartment building has a different flavor, right? And it's not that there's a bad flavor, right? We learn from all of the different flavors of each floor, right? Even in the shames and the guilts, we learn from them. I know when I feel guilty and I feel like I'm doing something wrong, right? This is really teaching me to really step into and own what I want, right? So now when I feel guilty, I acknowledge it and I say, thank you so much, guilt. I can see that I feel like I'm doing something wrong right now. And maybe I am doing something morally wrong, right? And then I'm like, okay, yeah, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Okay, let's course correct and do something that feels actually better. And then the guilt goes away, right? Or maybe it's just one of those things where we were told that something was wrong, but really authentically we know that it's right, right? So that's where we acknowledge it and then we step into our authentic truth. Right? But you can see each floor has its own lessons and teachings. So really what step 4 is really starting to take your time and slow down to be with yourself in all of these emotions, right? And so like June said, afraid of success, so fear. Fear is also one of those floors, right? So allowing yourself when you feel fearful to actually sit with your fear and be with your fear. You know, have a little cup of tea and just allow yourself to be with that feeling in your body and just breathe into it. And maybe that's where you want to journal to just see what comes up. And so in a lot of this, the repatterning, this is a lot of the stuff that we do at the School of Healing Arts and in some of our courses and stuff like that. In Recover and Rise, there's a lot of emotional repatterning stuff. The Spiral is a massive program for that. And then also there's the ways of when we bring something to our conscious awareness, right? So even journaling, what you're doing today, bringing something into your conscious awareness is massive, because once we see something, we can change it, right? And there are maybe quicker ways, more rapid ways of shifting these patterns. And then there's ways where we can be with them and shift them in slower ways, but they're still very effective, right? So it all depends on where you're at, what your goals are, how quickly you want to get there, and the method that you want to use, right? So what I just shared about tuning into your body, being with yourself, slowing down, and just allowing yourself to be in the feels and to see what comes up. And the breath is an incredible way to be able to tap you deeper into it. It brings in like a sense of safety into your body so you can actually feel it. And also meditation is also incredible. I can share some meditations in here as well that are body scans that help you to gain greater sensation in your body and greater just self-awareness around the emotions that are happening in your body. I know before I started doing this work, I didn't really, I felt heaviness in my body, but I didn't really know what it was until I started doing this work, and it opened up my body to have more sensation in my body, which then opened up my intuition and the guidance so that I could actually start fine-tuning what my life looked like based off of what I wanted instead of what I thought that my life should look like. So that's number 4. So really taking the time to be with it, to start building a new relationship with these emotional responses. And then number 5 is one that's very quick. It's let go and surrender. Right? Once we allow ourselves to be with these things, oftentimes we can want to try to fix things, or we can think that we need to do something. A lot of the time we just need to stop trying to control things, and we need to just let go, and we need to just trust and surrender. Right? And so that's what number 5 is. So once we do the work, we get to just show up in life, and we get to see how our lens has shifted. We get to see how maybe we show up different in different situations that maybe we would have showed up differently before. And this is kind of the cool one, because it's like we really get to see how us investing our time into doing this inner work, it really does, like when we say like this is work that you are going to reap the rewards from for the absolute rest of your life, it is. Every single day I'm having moments where I'm like, wow, if this was me even 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, it would have been completely differently. My life is completely different now because of these tools and these techniques that I'm sharing. And it's incredible, and it's possible for all of us to start living at those higher floors. And then also when we sink down into them, not judging them and learning from them so that we can pop back into the way that we actually want to. Say more about that, June. What do you mean? People actually know. Does anybody have any questions as well? Feel free to put them in the comments. Comment that you're a different person. I still don't understand what you mean. I'm sorry. Just keep saying more. Can I go over 4? Yes, I can. So 4 is, that's really where the work is, right? So 4, we could do like hours and hours and hours on 4, but I can break down what I had just shared and kind of make it more tangible for you. So it's really, it's that analogy of the apartment building where you have all of these different floors. Maybe we've spent more time on certain floors. Who here can relate to maybe spending, like, I know I spent so much time feeling unworthy of things. I was floating down in the shame floor for a while. It was a sticky one to break out of. And even still now, I float down there and I'm like, ugh, this is super heavy and I don't like living down here. Right? But all of these floors, they all have their own different flavor. We spend more time based off of our conditioning on certain floors, right? And that's the power of this work, is that we get to then reprogram our futures based off of where we actually want to be by clearing out the garbage bin of all of our past that's holding us down in those floors. And so we learn the lessons we need to learn in those floors so that we can start moseying our way up the elevator. So some of the things that I had mentioned was being with yourself, right? So just when we're feeling emotionally uncomfortable, instead of distracting ourselves, instead of getting busy, which we can often do, diving into maybe exercise or into smoking weed or into alcohol or into anything. It can be anything that we're really distracting ourselves with. I've used meditation to distract myself from my own emotions before because I was doing it in a mental way, right? So there's absolutely limitless things that we can distract ourselves with to distract ourselves from our emotions. So really it's just taking that time to be with yourself, and it can be uncomfortable. And it doesn't feel very nice to be with some of these heavier emotions, right? But the only way to shift through them and to break through into those higher ones is when we actually learn to be with them, right? So that's what it is. We're creating a new relationship with that emotion that's on that floor. So just being with them. And this is where the breath can come in. So the second one would be the breath. So being with them. The second one would be the breath, right? So you can take some nice, big, slow, deep breaths right from the very base of your belly. And then allowing your chest to rise, holding it up at the top, and then exhaling. And noticing that when you're kind of stressed and tense, you'll breathe more shallow and in your chest, and it'll be quicker. So the whole point of the breathing is to take nice, slow, big, deep breaths. All right, in through your nose and out through your mouth. And so that just opens up the body so you can actually feel and be with those emotions. And then when you're in them, you're building a relationship with them, right? You're starting to get familiar and comfortable with those emotions that are in your body. You can also, the third one would be journaling, right? So you can journal while you're in these states to just find out more about anything that wants to flow through. Maybe it just needs an acknowledgement. Maybe there's some hurts that are under the surface that really need to be acknowledged. Maybe there's some forgiveness that has to happen. So there's lots of stuff that can be going on underneath the surface, and we dive deeper into that in Recover and Rise, which is a 10-week online course we have in the School of Healing Arts. If you want more information on that, then just put Recover and Rise in the comments and we can send you more information on that. And then Nicole, I know you went through the spiral. So the spiral is an incredible way where you start gaining that greater relationship with all of those emotions that are on that elevator ride. So you can start flowing more seamlessly through them. Right? Because human expression is like, we're big. Like, we have all of these emotions inside of us that are just like coming through. Right? And then there's no right or wrong to any of them. We've just been told that, oh, you're too loud. You have to be quiet in this environment and this and that. But it's like, in reality, we are an embodiment of all of these things. And sometimes we're feeling many emotions all at once. Sometimes I write down the emotions I'm feeling. It's like a full page. It's just like, whew, can be overwhelming at times, right? So it definitely takes that practice to be able to just build a new relationship and start learning to accept and learn the lessons from those certain emotions. So that's what number 4 is. It's really building that new relationship with the emotions in your body. Does that bring clarity, Nicole? Yeah, so Nicole says, yes, spiral is amazing to learn to do or to discover going even deeper than we have. It is incredible. I've been through it multiple times now, and every single time, I'm actually going through it again right now because I'm helping out with the practitioners, the new practitioners that are going through and becoming spiral practitioners. And life-changing every time I go through. I learn new things about myself. It's incredible. And June says, when you can be in touch with your emotions, regulating them with more ease, people actually notice and comment that you're a different person. Massively, right? When we feel safe in ourselves, and safety to me is just like really like feeling safe, feeling all of the things, all of the whole escalator ride or the elevator of this apartment building. When we can fully like be okay with all of these things, we feel safe in our body, right? And so if I can hold myself in fear, I can also hold a friend that's in fear, right? Or I can hold a client who's in fear. If I can be with myself in my anger and have a good relationship with my anger, then I can hold other people in their anger, right? And so that's the whole thing with being able to be able to create this ripple as well. The more embodied we become in our full human expression, the more we actually help shift things in our outside world and other people around us without even knowing, right? If you're in this group, you're probably one of those people that people just randomly come to for advice or randomly come to because it feels good to be around you, right? Because you're on this journey where you're doing this work to be able to gain that greater self-awareness, and you probably do find that people just naturally come to you to feel better, and it is because of the path that you're on, and it continues to deepen and deepen and deepen the more that you continue to do this work. Amazing. Any other questions? Hi, Zach. So happy you're on here. I found physically moving through these emotions has helped a lot. Going to the backyard and practicing freestyle embodied movement to Zen instrumental music and writing it out after. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing this, Zach. Massive. I love doing that as well. It's so incredible. Movement moves emotions in the body, and it helps to shift and transmute them. So it's incredible to just be able to do that and to just be able to express and allow your body to move. That's massive. And celebrating Zach for all of the work that he has been doing and leaning into. And the instrumental music is just amazing because it doesn't have the words in it to kind of prompt your mind into things, so you can really be with the experience that you're experiencing and then writing it out afterwards. That's awesome, Zach. Does anybody else have anything that they want to share? Any other questions about the 5 steps to creation or anything else? Feel free to put it in there now or forever hold your peace. I'm just kidding. If something comes up afterwards, you can just message me or put it in the comments afterwards. But without further ado, we will close off this live. Thank you so much to everybody that was here with me. This was super fun. And we are going to be coming back live in this group every single week, 12:30 on Wednesdays. So if you want to mark that in your calendar, then that's awesome. And if you can't catch 12:30, then feel free to just put it in your calendar whenever you can later that day or the next day, and you can catch the replays of this. And if you have any questions, if you have anything specific you want us to talk about on here, that you have questions about, that you're looking for insights on, looking for any support with, then feel free to just either message us personally or comment it anywhere in this Facebook group. And we can pop on and share more about those things in previous weeks. But sending you so much love, and I will see you on the next one. I'll chat with you guys very soon. Thanks so much for being on here. Bye, everyone. You're so welcome. I'll see you soon. You're welcome. Thanks for being here, Zach. Thank you so much. You're welcome. My pleasure. This stuff lights me up. Okay. Ciao. Love you all. Bye.